Welcome to Camnet TV Main News. I am Precious Mzea Sakaleji. The headlines. Former President Edgar Lungu asks President HH to intimate the process of lifting his immunity. A named Chinese company in Lusaka has been accused of covering up the death of one of its employees. UPND youths in KANYAMA attribute Coal's Relief Change Party Secretary General to hunger. And in international news, Uganda President downplays Ebola scare, no need for anxiety. And in sports, EMILE Smith ROWE Arsenal midfielder sidelined after GROIN operation. Details coming through after this commercial.
For immediate coverage of any breaking or latest news in Zambia and around the world on Camnet television, call the numbers on your screen. Camnet television, bringing to your screens fair news, impartial news, credible and reliable news all the time. Get the whole truth on Camnet World News. Camnet Television, not just another channel.
And now the main news in detail. A Chinese-owned transporting company operating in Lusaka has allegedly covered up the death of one of its workers, Leonard Hamagwewo, 43, who died on duty while transporting goods in Congo on 21st of September 2022. In an interview, family representative Christopher Mwanza narrates that co-workers of their relatives who was working for Ashani Investment Transporters says he was beaten up by a Congolese soldier at one of the roadblocks while transporting goods, adding that the company, however, covered up his death as an overdose of painkiller known as lofenac. The family is now calling on the Zambian Ministry of Foreign Affairs to help them investigate the true cause of their relatives' death and get compensation, adding that a post-mortem done on Thursday morning has failed to determine the cause of his death on the basis that his body is too decomposed.
Zambia has continued to record such stories concerning truck drivers working for foreign-owned companies, as a number of them have died abroad, and bringing their bodies back home has been a challenge, not until the cases were given media attention. The latest case is that of a Zambian truck driver, Leonard Hamagwewo, 43, who was working for Ashani Investment Transporters, a Chinese-owned transporting company in Zambia, whose death has allegedly been covered up as an overdose of a painkiller known as lofenac after dying on duty in the Democratic Republic of Congo. In an interview, family representative Christopher Mwanza says co-workers of the relative narrate that he was beaten up by Congolese soldiers while on duty at a roadblock due to the truck not having all the requirements. He narrates that the Congolese government, however, recorded the death as a road traffic accident, adding that his body was brought in a sealed coffin, as it is said that post-mortem was already done, but says the family later discovered that no post-mortem had, however, been carried out.
The other two trucks were allowed to go. The other truck was told to wait so that they can pay, then they proceed. So now, according to the information, after misunderstanding, the disease started calling the friends who were in front. The friends were just, what they were getting, it was just noise and the Chinese person crying. And later on it was quiet. To their findings, as a family, they found that the lower part of the body, it was sealed. They couldn't open the coffin. They could only see the head. So as a family, they became suspicious. No, what are they hiding that we can't see? They contacted the HR, being that it was night. The HR said, no, I'll be there tomorrow. Before the HR came, we decided to unseal the coffin so that we could to see what was hidden and see if the postmortem was done. So that's how we contacted the police to say, we don't want to do this and this and this. They said, okay, go ahead, you will tell us what you find. What we found from there, the postmortem was not done.
The family representative asked that a postmortem done at the University Teaching Hospital UTH Thursday morning, however, failed to determine his cause of death as his body was severely decomposed.
We saw some pills, the painkillers, Lofnac. They are found on the seat. So on the audio, the Chinese were posting some audios, and this the one who posted the pills. He said maybe he took those pills, it was an overdose. So maybe it was a heart attack. That's what the Chinese person said. When we reached here, the postmortem was done, and to their findings, they said we can't detect anything because the state of the body is decomposed. So as a result, we can't tell anything. As a result, we can't tell the cause of the death.
Their call is for the Zambian Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Ministry of Labor to help them get justice for their relative, whom they say lives behind a young family. Meanwhile, when contacted, Anshani Investments Transporter's human resource manager, who withheld his name, has declined to comment on the matter.
It's very difficult for me now to answer that because it's a very sensitive issue and we have never met. I'm sure it was supposed to be done with an appointment to introduce properly. I can't handle that, I'm sorry, on the phone. Where? To the minister? No, I can't tell because right now we are in a confused state.
We will follow the story to its logical conclusion. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Child Rescue Foundation, CRF, has come to the rescue of a 41-year-old woman with mental health problems who has been suffering sexual abuse, resulting in her having 2 children she has been living with in unfinished buildings of Lusaka, with the youngest only 9 months old. Abina Champati, who suffered mental problems after her husband, she bore 5 children, left her for another woman in 2014, has been staying in unfinished residential buildings in Lusaka with 2 children, all boys aged 5 and 9 months, fathered by unknown men who sexually took advantage of her. Her firstborn daughter, Elina Mwaleza, 25, sought the help of CRF, who today, with the help of mental health medical personnel, visited the woman staying in Nibala South.
Abina Champati was finally located in Nibala South, living in an unfinished building surrounded by residential houses, shops and bars. Child Rescue Foundation and medical officers from Chilenge Clinic managed to locate the woman through the help of her firstborn daughter. They are here to convince her to accompany them to Chainama Hills College Hospital in order for her to receive mental health care. Child Rescue Foundation also intends to get the 2 children from her so that they could live with their elder stepsister, Elena. Clearly, there is no sanitation at the unfinished building, and a pic where she sleeps with the 2 children showed various paraphernalia, including few food items. Helena, who chose not to be on camera, wants her mother to be helped urgently. She narrates how a mother who initially had 5 children got depressed after her father, who has since died, left her for another woman in 2014. She says she has been moving ever since and ended up having 2 children without knowing who was responsible. Child Rescue Foundation explains the woman's predicament and the plans that they have for her and the children.
She keeps on moving from one unfinished building to another. So we thought we should come through and find out why she does that. So definitely at the beginning we just thought she was homeless and she didn't have relatives. So when we came to visit her, we actually brought food that was donated by Honorable Taengwa, the Member of Parliament for Kawata constituency. So when we came, her daughter, her first child, Elena, she heard that we came and we wanted to find a house for her, rent a house for her and give her capital So when she heard about it, she called us. We went to visit her and she explained to us the problem. She told us that her mother got sick in 2014, 2 months after her husband left her with another woman. So we took it up. We thought we should help her by taking the mother to a rehabilitation center where she can also get counseled. And we have just found out, actually we found out that she has 2 children. These 2 children, she doesn't know the fathers to the children. She has just explained to say that there was a man that used to take advantage of her because of her situation. He would come in the night, okay, sleep with her, and then he would run. She can't even remember his face. Yeah, so we thought definitely if someone can't even remember the person that impregnated her, then there is a problem. So today we want to take her to KANYAMA so that she can be examined, and then it all depends on what the doctors will say. We want her to get counseling. We have already organized that for her.
Tito Kalama, Camnet News.
Zambia Society for Child Protection CEO Nicholas Malaya has emphasized the need for more advocacy and public awareness on child rights. Speaking during a one-day workshop in Lusaka on child protection, Mr. Malaya says child rights must be known and understood by everyone for them to be effectively implemented. Speaking at the same workshop, Apostolic Faith Mission in Zambia Pastor Andrew LUNGU says the church needs to reach out to people, especially children, in holistic. The clergy also stressed that the church has a responsibility to invest in children and that the time is now.
Child abuse is a complex social problem that is often deeply rooted in the cultural, economic and social practices of the country in which it exists. Whether mandated to report suspected child abuse or not, child sexual abuse prevention is the responsibility of every adult in every community. However, many adults have no idea about what to do when they suspect a child is being harmed. Others are hesitant to get involved or to say anything for fear of being wrong. Whatever the reason, the resulting silence allows the harm to continue, almost always with devastating consequences. Thursday, the Zambia Society for Child Protection hosted a child protection awareness campaign and training, which drew participants from the church, police, media, teachers, counselors, and prosecutors. The organization CEO, Nicholas Malaya, says the significance of the workshop is to advocate for continued public awareness on child protection.
The numbers of children that are being sexually abused are on the increase. So the significance of this workshop and the other workshops that we have had is to continue to create awareness. We have realized that from the much interaction that we have had in the community, not many people are aware that there are so many children that are sexually abused. And that information is unknown.
Speaking at the same event, ZCPA's child counselor Hilda Musaluke says there is need for more specialized counselors for children.
What we have observed is that people have done psychosocial counseling, but those who are specialized in child counseling are few. So we'd like to see a number of upcoming counselors to specialize in child counseling, because counseling is not it's a process.
During the same workshop, it has emerged that the church has a big aspect of nurturing the development of children, as it is important that children grow up with the values, and the church is very strategically positioned to do so.
I believe the church is silent because I have never heard or seen a pastor bringing a perpetrator of child sexual abuse to book to say we have caught this person, he did child sexual abuse and we are handing over him to the police or her to the police. Nothing like that, which simply tells me to say as a church we are doing nothing.
The issues to do with the children are quite very critical in the sense that children have a family, and that's where the training should start from, according to scripture. And then from there, they are also supposed to be also inculcated with the values from the communities.
Thanks to the recently passed Child Court Bill, children's rights will be protected. However, more awareness needs to be done on the same, looking at the worrisome high numbers of violence against children that the country continues to record. Miriam Kaimba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
United Party for National Development UPND youths in Lusaka's KANYAMA constituency have charged that hunger has driven them to ask for a change of party leadership at Secretary General level, contrary to assertions that they were paid by Lusaka Province Chairman Obvious Mwaliteta. The youths, who were summoned to Banda Masauko Market in Lusaka's KANYAMA constituency to answer to allegations of illegally collecting levies by market management, have denied allegations while stating that the party should pay them back for campaigns done in the 2021 general elections. The party youths say constituency development fund will not work for them, as they are not willing to undergo lengthy application processes with no certainty of being selected. They add that the party should find a way of compensating them, as they will not agree to offer free labor.
After Camnet News aired the story of market traders from Banda Masauko Market in Lusaka's KANYAMA constituency, where cadres from the current administration have allegedly continued collecting levies meant for local authorities against directives from the current administration, market management has summoned those alleged to be practicing this vice for questioning. In an interview, Banda Masauko Market chairperson Benson Mwale alleges that it is clear after questioning that the matter is being politicized by those from the former ruling Patriotic Front, whom he says want to dent the image of the UPND. Traders at the market, however, say market positions should be depoliticized, alleging that a market chairperson aligned to the ruling administration cannot be objective.
Tungataru kamba uyamenenzo kamba izo si marketia mwina ni muntu wochokera kwina kufuna kuononga zina achani yachipani but muno market eveka khalidwe tulukhala bwino ife as UPND tusunga mushe bantu maningi marketia sawavutika kuvutika iya so ni bantu sake maybe ni bajamini wa PF amen.
Meanwhile, the youths, while stating that they cannot turn to markets for survival, say there is need for the current administration to pay them back for their labor during the 2021 general elections and before. They state that hunger is what has driven them to ask for the Lusaka Province Chairman Obvious Mwaliteta to be Secretary General instead of Mr. Batuke Emenda, contrary to assertions that they are being paid.
Ise tinaimbirira teka kulingana na problems amene tinaibereta itachani taona chamene chinatire chaba. I think a lot of people are asking themselves kuti ni ndani anavatuma bafana, so apa tabwera pa air kuti tikambe amene zana tituma ni ndani ni Mr. Hanga ni ndani ni njala nganivesesaka
aba bamene bakamba bonse aba bali na mastandi mu market ise makaders tuziba kwa mene tisebenzera so sifuna muntu wo sebenzesa chipani pali vintu vaboza vamene viliko.
While they have expressed knowledge about the Constituency Development Fund (CDF), the youth state that the process is too lengthy and uncertain, adding that they were not promised CDF during campaigns. Zipora Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
The Zambia Assemblies of God Africa (ZAOGA) say there is need for Zambia to institute prayers over the series of accidents that are being recorded nearly on a weekly basis, stating that the country, being a Christian nation, cannot just sit and watch. In an interview, organization founder Archbishop Ezekiel Guti notes that while physical measures can be taken to curb the same by relevant authorities, the country should also institute special prayers aimed at restoring peace and tranquility in the country. Meanwhile, the clergyman has called for the depoliticization of the National Day of Prayer, Fasting and Reconciliation, which is commemorated on the 18th of October every year, stating that it must be organized in a manner that will make all citizens feel welcome to participate.
That's my encouragement to prayer is to, now, when I talk about prayers, it needs people who knows about the kingdom of God, who speaks and things happen. Now, there are some people who just ordinary prayer, those kind of is a spirit in there. So prayer, yes, can do it. So he can call prayer and the people can come. And that's the prayer. Pray with those who are willing to pray for the. But it's very, very important that prayer people not crashing with the parties of government. So must be always careful, don't disturb, don't touch the things of government.
Vice President Mutale Lumango has officially launched the Africa Continental Framework for Strengthening Mortality Surveillance in Zambia today. The launch was conducted during an expert high-level meeting held by the Ministry of Health in collaboration with Africa's CDC at Bonanza Resort, Chongwe District today. Speaking during the event, Mrs. Nalumango said there is need for African leaders to make bold decisions in allocating the necessary resources to attend the establishment and operationalization of mortality surveillance in our respective countries. The meeting is aimed at guiding members of state on the planning and implementation of their mortality surveillance in order to fast-track the availability of good quality and timely mortality data for public health decisions, as well as to strengthen death registration across the African continent. 110 international delegates and 5 foreign ministries of health were invited to be part of the meeting.
I call upon African leaders to take bold decisions to allocate the necessary resources, both human and financial, to ensure the establishment and operationalization of mortality surveillance in our respective countries. The investment will provide insights into the full magnitude of the health consequences of an epidemic. This goes beyond case counts and mortality counts based on lab diagnosis. It will also provide to us with disparities in disease burden across geographical and demographic groups. Okay. I also call upon multiple organizations, including vital strategies, WHO, and others to support this continent with resources, including technical support. Let us all aspire to strive for high levels of completeness and coverage of these routine surveillance systems. Let us go beyond the emergency response mode and build mortality surveillance systems that meet goals aligned with country priorities and international or regional.
In other news, Republican Progressive Party member of the United Party for National Alliance has praised the government for ensuring equitable and transparent empowerment as evidenced by the event held in Ndola on Wednesday. Speaking to Camnet TV, RPP Acting President Cassius Akapelwa says the 70 fuel tankers that were given to 70 cooperatives across the 10 provinces is clear evidence that the UPND means well for the youths of the country. Mr. Akapelwa explains that the empowerment it witnessed is not for the political cadres belonging to the ruling party, but everyone who qualifies. Commemorated, and now the news in details.
The government has now honored its promise, where 70 fuel tankers have been released to 70 cooperatives. These tankers, fuel tankers, are for Zambians. And the Zambians that own these cooperatives have benefited from the New Dawn government. Now, the next move for on information is that there's another 150 fuel tankers that will be procured for more cooperatives to benefit. When the government is emphasizing for people to set up cooperatives, this is what we're talking about. People from all walks of life in different provinces have benefited from these cooperatives. So I'm urging all the young people in this country to reorganize themselves form cooperatives, because this is what the government is emphasizing. This money will be envisaged to the young people in all facets of life. So these cooperatives have benefited, and another beneficiary is waiting there, out there in different parts of the country. So I encourage the young people to reorganize themselves and move forward and set up these cooperatives.
The Director of Public Prosecution has not yet issued consent to prosecute the case in which Opposition Patriotic Front Information and Publicity Chairperson Raphael Nakachinda is accused of hate speech. Mr. Nakachinda in this matter is charged with 1 count of expressing or showing hatred and 1 count of defamation of the President.
He has appeared again before the Lusaka Subordinate Court, this time around with a different charge of hate speech. However, Mr. Raphael Nakachinda, who is Opposition Patriotic Front Information and Publicity Chairperson, will have to wait for the Director of Public Prosecution to issue consent on this same charge before he can be prosecuted. The latter failed to take plea Thursday morning owing to the same fact. Mr. Nakachinda, between the 18th and the 22nd of April 2022, allegedly uttered words, and I quote, "You know what you did, you Zambians, is very bad. You went to pick the waste and complete ignorant of a Tonga from Bwenga and then went to dump him at State House." Words which the state alleges is expressing or showing hatred, ridicule, or contempt against a group of people, namely the Tonga-speaking people of Bwenga area of Southern Province. The outspoken politician has also been slapped with another count of defamation of the President. Mr. Nakachinda is accused of defaming President Hakainde Hichilema on the said date by alleging that what was working was not the fight against corruption, but jealous. Due to the fact that the first count needs consent from the DPP, the accused could not proceed to taking plea in the other count of defamation of the President. He is expected to appear before court on the 14th of October 2022 for mention and possible plea, awaiting consent from the Director of Public Prosecution. Miriam Kaimba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Lusaka District Education Board Secretary Ian Miowa has urged public schools to ensure maximum productivity beyond government grants to see to it that these institutions are well sustained. Speaking when witnessing the handover of a school community hall in Lusaka, Mr. Miowa says apart from being used for school purposes, facilities like school halls can be used for business ventures to help schools generate extra income. In a separate interview, Lusaka Central Constituency Representative Joseph Mwila says the cost of the school hall is over 1 million kwacha, stating that the construction was done using Constituency Development Fund over a period of 3 years. Almost present were representatives from the Teaching Service Commission and other concerned parties in the education sector.
A hall is a very important aspect of infrastructure in an institution. We are aware that the hall seats a lot of people. The school can use it as part of production unity, meaning that they can be able to raise some monies to run the activities of the school. It is also an aspect where the school will use the hall for purposes of writing exams. So we will be able to sit children in one place and be able to conduct exams in a very conducive environment.
The value of this school hall is estimated at over 1 million kwacha. This is the unprecedented benefits of the exponential allocation towards CDF that we're yet to see. Right about now, we're also able to see that we're going to be handing over bursaries as well as trade skills beneficiaries who are going to be receiving their letters at this event.
You're watching Camnet TV Main News. We take our first set of commercials. We'll be back with more after this.
You know I can take her a bit.
Yes, my dear.
I was thinking of getting you a Bugatti on your birthday.
Really?
I'm quiet. My name is Yana.
Don't worry, man. That's why there is insurance.
Insurance?
You heard me.
Not just any kind of insurance.
but Savenda General Insurance, a company that offers superior customer service, highly professional and dedicated staff. We are not just any insurance company, but an insurance company that actually pays our claims. We cover, among others, fire, marine, aviation, engineering, agriculture, motor vehicle, and miscellaneous insurance. So, live life to the full, knowing that Savenda General Insurance has got you covered. Savenda General Insurance. Insurance excellence.
Your skin is the biggest muscle in your body. That's why we make sure that Oracle is #1 when it comes to taking care of your precious skin. Oracle Pure Petroleum Jelly and Glycerin soothes, moisturizes and keeps your skin perfect. Oracle Pure Petroleum products for that perfect skin.
Welcome back. We'll continue with the rest of the main news. ZISC General Insurance has attributed the low uptake of insurance products in Zambia to limited information on the products as well as failure of these products to meet customer needs. Speaking at the exclusive masterclass meeting in Lusaka Thursday, ZISC General Insurance Managing Director Charles Nakoze says his institution intends to conduct a research to establish the factors limiting the uptake of the products by the general populace and the business community. Mr. Nakoze says insurance in Zambia stands at 3% and has the capacity to increase if more sensitizing on the citizenry is enforced. He further says there is need for insurance companies to settle claims if the citizens are to start trusting insurance companies.
The country has continued to record a number of accidents, which includes road accidents, buildings and markets catching fire, home and small businesses being burnt to ashes, as well as properties being stolen. In most incidences, the victims have ended up losing all their properties, being left with completely no other sources of income, a situation that has enabled some to become poor. While Zambia has over 23 insurance companies, the consumption of insurance products in the country remain low at 3% compared to other African countries such as South Africa, which stands at above 10%. ZISC's General Insurance Marketing Director Charles Nakoze, who addressed journalists at the exclusive masterclass meeting in Lusaka Thursday, has attributed the low uptake of insurance products in Zambia to limited information on the products, as well as failure of those products to meet customers' needs.
To establish the facts, we intend to conduct a research on the factors limiting the uptake of these products by the general populace and the business community at large. We are doing this bespoke research because our analysis informs us that products such as group personal accident, professional indemnity, and personal accident policies are necessary for the achievement of individual and corporate objectives.
Mr. Nakoze has also emphasized the importance of citizens taking up insurance products, which most citizens view as not being so important.
Countries like South Africa, they talk about a penetration of something like 14%. In other countries like Taiwan, Singapore, because of such a huge micro-insurance book, their penetration rates which go up to 17 to 20%. In fact, the highest penetration rate in the world is about 20%. Now that is how you can now see insurance being recognized by economic players and even now contributing to job creation when you have penetration rates which go above 10%.
Insurance plans are beneficial to anyone looking to protect their families, assets and properties and themselves from financial losses, hence the needs for citizens to take insurance products seriously. Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Former Zambian Republican President Edgar Lungu has pleaded with President Hakainde Hichilema to initiate the process of lifting his immunity through Parliament. Speaking when members of Parliament from the Patriotic Front visited him this afternoon after reports that the Drug Enforcement Commission officers visited his residence, Mr. Lungu notes that being followed by law enforcement agencies is tiring. He says he has reached at a point which anything at which anything that will prove his innocence is welcome. The former head of state was visited, among them former Home Affairs Minister Stephen Kampyongo and other lawmakers from the government.
It caught our attention.
Of course, by then, unknown to me, we had gone to council who was in court witnessing the delivery of the justice. So, council just rushed from court and came and found us. I wish I could have kept a lead on this, but I couldn't because everyone was in it. So from there I came here. Of course, I've had visitors and people coming to share solidarity with me. And this man behind me, why do you talk too much? So I said, no, I don't talk too much, but you see, there's a point beyond which you stop keeping quiet.
Yes, and that's the position.
But, I think I've reached a point where now my age is, may the president initiate the process of lifting my immunity. I went to Parliament to lay a case so that he can eventually prove what crime I committed. Because for 1 year, we in PF have been called criminals, So my feeling is that may the president start the process of removing my immunity so that I have my day in court. In Zambia, we believe that he who alleges must prove.
Yes.
So let him prove that I am a criminal. I led a bunch of criminals. We looted and plundered this country. So that at the end of the day, collectively or individually as the head, they can answer the charges. Otherwise, they should stop this because we are courting lawlessness. And if this lawlessness is allowed to continue, we don't know who will survive this lawlessness. You cannot keep saying, they are looters, banaba. If you not buy, then take me on. Show me that you never saw. So then I'll defend myself. But let him prove, because the adage we believe in.
And indeed, like you have seen, your members were concerned. We had to plead with them to finish the sitting, and then so that we could come and find out what was happening. But what triggered everything was what we saw yesterday: the drama of seizure notices, cancellation of seizure. All that is pointing to lawlessness. And like we have said, even as your lieutenants, we are ready. We know that we are equally targets, and we don't mind. But when they cross to you, it becomes something else. As they can pick any time. We are not above the law, just like any citizen. But you have occupied that special office, which your colleague is occupying today, and there will be the next person that will come in that office. So we just want to ensure that we preserve the dignity and the laws that we enacted to protect that office.
Your Excellency, as you earlier pointed out, the President of this Republic is on every platform talking about the rule of law. But what we are seeing is the exact opposite. What has been happening to you in the past months, especially yesterday and today, is total lawlessness. And as lawmakers, we took it upon ourselves, first of all, to come here and put it on record that we will do all it takes to ensure that we defend the Constitution and defend the rights of every citizen, especially yours, Your Excellency, being a former president, because you occupy a higher place. There are certain provisions that would not ordinarily apply to ordinary citizens that are applicable to you, given to you by the Constitution.
In other news, the non-governmental gender organization coordinating council NGOCC has challenged government to increase the current tax-free threshold from 4,500 kwacha to 5,000 kwacha in the 2023 national budget as food and the general cost of living has increased. NGOCC Executive Director Annie Anamela says her organization is also hopeful that government will zero-rate consumption tax VAT on essential food items to ensure poor female-headed households meet their basic needs. Mrs. Anamela further says the budget should be gender-sensitive and responsive to address the unique needs of girls, boys, women and men if sustainable development is to be achieved. She says sufficient resources must be allocated to the full implementation of the Anti-Gender-Based Violence (GBV) Act, especially targeting the review of the Act training of law enforcement and judicial officers, establishment of the anti-GBV fund, and construction of shelters countrywide, and also the establishment of fast-track courts in all provincial centers to handle GBV cases. Minister of Finance and National Planning, Dr. Stumbeko Msokotwane, is expected to announce the 2023 national budget in Parliament this Friday, 30th September 2022.
Calling upon the New Dawn administration to ensure that the 2023 national budget is gender sensitive and responsive to address the unique needs of girls, boys, women and men if sustainable development is to be achieved. Minister of Finance and National Planning, Dr. Stumbeko Msokotwane, is expected to announce the 2023 national budget in Parliament this Friday, 30th September 2022. As a reminder of the submission by NGOCC on tax and non-tax proposals made to the Ministry of Finance and National Planning earlier in June this year, there is need for the government to ensure that the unique needs of women and men in the national budget are addressed. It is our hope that government will zero-rate consumption tax on essential food items to ensure poor female-headed households meet their basic needs. Further, government should increase the current tax-free threshold from 4,500 kwacha to 5,000 kwacha, as food and the general cost of living have increased.
The Zambia Statistical Agency, ZAMSTAT, says the gross domestic product estimates for the second quarter of 2022 has grown, that the Zambian economy grew by 3.5%. ZAMSTAT's interim statistician General Mlenga Msepa says the growth is 1.2% more than the 2.2% recorded in the first quarter of 2022. Mr. Msepa says the industries that dominated the growth were public administration, education, manufacturing, information and communications, transport and storage, as well as accommodation and food service. Meanwhile, the country's annual inflation rate for September 2022 has increased to 9.9% compared to 9.8% recorded in August this year. Mr. Msepa has attributed the increase mainly to the base effect in food items. He says the food inflation rate in September 2022 increased to 12.1% from 11.3% recorded in August this year due to increase in food prices for cereal, fish and vegetables. We take our second set of commercials. Coming next is international and sports news.
In our quest to save nations and develop Africa, Savenda is investing in the agriculture sector so as to produce supply for both local and international markets, housing over 12,000 pullets that are nurtured and fed with our locally made stock feed that comes from our own locally grown maize and soya beans, all processed from our recently installed milling and mixing plant. Our over 95,000 layers have an output capacity of over 1,500 trays of fresh eggs per day that are carefully selected and packaged for all the leading stores and supermarkets nationwide. Our greenhouses are fitted with the latest irrigation system, and the seedlings are nurtured to ensure only healthy plants reach the fields. With our deliberate planting schedule, we are better placed to supply constantly without interruption, thus reliable. Savenda Farms is also changing lives of its dedicated workforce drawn from the local community and beyond. So the next time you think fresh and green, think Savenda Farms.
Water is life. Each drop counts and each must be cherished. Our tried and tested product meets all international standards. With our smart drip technology, we aim to deliver precision irrigation designed to reduce blockage and wastage, ensuring a high yield. RenGlow, your smart irrigation partner.
Welcome back. Now getting into our international item. In a televised address, Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni seeks to calm fears over an ongoing outbreak of the highly contagious Ebola virus in his country, announcing some emergency measures but ruling out any need for COVID-style public lockdowns. In another international item, at least 19 people died and dozens others were hospitalized after consuming toxic alcohol from a kiosk in northern Morocco, local media reports. Wednesday, police arrested a 48-year-old suspect in connection with the incident. Nearly 50 liters of the liquid were found in the suspect's store. Here's a roundup of international news.
President Yoweri Museveni vowed Wednesday that Uganda would quickly contain the Ebola outbreak there, ruling out restrictions on movement and gatherings. Ugandan authorities said cases of the highly contagious disease were spotted in the central Mubende district last week. In a televised address, Museveni appealed for calm.
I want to reassure Ugandans and all residents that the government has got capacity to control this outbreak, as we have done before. Therefore, there is no need for anxiety, panic, restriction of movement or unnecessary closure of public places like schools, markets, places of worship, etc. as of now.
At the Ugandan-Kenyan border crossing of Busia, authorities were screening travelers from Uganda. Kampala has said it was repurposing COVID treatment centers to serve as Ebola management facilities.
It's a little bit like AIDS. You remember when AIDS came, people were running around, tourists were not coming. Tourists were not coming. I said, but why are tourists not coming? Oh, there is AIDS. AIDS. AIDS is found in only certain addresses. You don't go there, you don't get it.
Museveni said there have been 24 cases and 5 confirmed deaths, despite local media reporting nearly 24 fatalities.
Since most of the Ebola cases are coming from Madudu sub-county, which is the epicenter, government has decided to set up an additional Ebola treatment unit of 30 beds at Madudu Health Center 3.
Ebola is an often fatal viral hemorrhagic fever. The disease was discovered in the Democratic Republic of Congo in 1976. Uganda has seen several Ebola outbreaks, the most recent in 2019, which killed 5 people.
Malawi's president and the U.S. Secretary of State presided over the signing of a Millennium Challenge Cooperation Compact MCC in Washington Wednesday. The $350 million aid through the MCC will fund the road network connecting rural and urban areas in Malawi. The compact assists developing nations meeting democratic benchmarks. President Chakwera urged the United States to consider a project that would give Malawi access to the Indian Ocean. At least 19 people died and about 30 were hospitalized after consuming toxic alcohol from a roadside kiosk in northern Morocco, an official from the Health Ministry confirmed Wednesday. Victims reportedly suffered symptoms including stomach cramps. The police arrested a 48-year-old in connection with the incident. Moroccan law prohibits the sale of alcohol to Muslims, but stores discreetly offer it for sale.
We now get into our sports item. Arsenal midfielder EMILE Smith-Rowe has had surgery on a groin injury, and the club hopes he will return to training in December. The 22-year-old has made 4 brief substitute outings this season. In the last of those, which was a defeat at Manchester United, he suffered a significant setback. In recent months, EMILE Smith-Rowe has been experiencing discomfort in his groin, which has limited his training and match appearances, said Arsenal. Well, that sports item brings us to the end of Camnet TV main news, but before we go, here are the headlines once again. Former President Edgar Lungu asks President HH to initiate the process of lifting his immunity. A named Chinese company in Lusaka has been accused of covering up the death of one of its employees. UPND youths in KANYAMA attribute cause relief Change Party Secretary General to hunger. And in international news, Ugandan President downplays Ebola scare, no need for anxiety. And in sports, EMILE Smith Rowe as a midfielder sidelined after groin operation. Our Camnet verse of the day is coming from the book of John 3, verse 20 to 21, and it reads, "Everyone who does evil hates the light, and will not come into the light for fear that his deeds will be exposed. But whoever lives with the truth comes into the light, so that it may be seen plainly that what he has done has been done through God." Thank you for watching. I am Precious Mzeya Sakaleji. Pleasant viewing.